Hello, it's Crafty Carol here from Northern Ireland with another little project for you, which I think is brilliant fun. I've sort of done it as a Christmas box, but this could be made for a gift box at any time. And it looks like a simple box, but I'm going to call it an all-in-one box. I think I first got the idea from a box I saw several years ago now, made by Ruth's Stamping Corner. I saw it on YouTube and it was just brilliant. And I think she called it an impossible box, but I just always wanted to share making one. So it looks like an ordinary box, but when you open it, you just lift the lid up, you see that the lid is actually part of the box. Why am I not getting it up? There we go. I wanted to do it to show you how it works. See that? So you've got the box in here. Now, obviously, the space you've got for the actual gift is just the main part of the box, so which is about, I think they're about 3 inches. Yeah, it's about a 3" by 3" box in total, but the lid is part of it. And then as you close the box, the lid forms. How clever is that? I just think it's brilliant. It's one of those things I can sit and play with forever. So let us get going. What do we need for it? Well, we need to start with a piece of cardstock and matching DSP. That's all you need, and you can make it in any colour, any style, totally up to you. So I'm going to make some for Christmas, but this DSP I'm using, the one I used on this box actually, and I'm using the same in a different colour because I thought you could see this colour better than the dark. This is some foil from last year. It's a lovely, shiny foil, but you could use any DSP. What do you need? The piece of cardstock you need in your matching colour to whichever DSP you choose needs to be 7.5 inches down by 10.5 inches across. Now, normally I would work in centimetres as well. To be honest, I will put the centimetres down, but it's easier to work in inches because I'm going to use my scoreboard. And although I do have a metric plate for it, I do find it easier to work in inches with the scoreboard. So everything I tell you today will be in inches. But if you want centimetres, I will put them in the blog. So 7.5 by 10.5 inches. And then you need a whole load of little bits of DSP. This is the bit I've added to the box that Ruth didn't have. This is for the top, to decorate the top. And this piece is 2 1/8 inches by 2 1/8 inches, which is around 5.3 centimetres, if you really want to know. Then we need 4 pieces that are 2 1/4 inches by 1.5 inches. 4 of those. And then we need 4 other bits which are 2 1/4 inches down again, but this time just 3/4 of an inch wide. So 4 of that size, 4 of that size to decorate. I'm making this a Christmas gift box, so I'm using the greetings of the season, and I just used the For You and cut it out with one of the lovely dies that comes with this bundle. It's such a super bundle, definitely worth getting. So I've already made that up because it's the box is the key today. So I've made this up and we're just going to stick it on with some ribbon at the end. Okay, so let's get going. I'm just going to move those bits to the side and bring in my scoreboard, and I'm hoping that this is going to be in view. I'll just sort of stand on my head to try and make sure it is. There we go. So we're going to start by scoring on the short side. Trouble is, having it where you can see it means it's falling off the desk a little bit, but we'll manage. So we're going to score on the short side first at 1.5 inches, coming all the way down. Just by placing the little stylus in the little groove, vertical groove, you can then run it onto the paper and then it'll follow the channel all the way around. If you don't press too hard, don't let it bounce out. So 1.5, then 4, so putting it in the channel, then letting it just run down that channel, down where we want it. 4, 5 1/4, and finally 6.5. So you'll see we've got a slightly wider end and a narrower end. We're going to turn it now so that the 1.5 inch one is at the bottom. So you've got the slightly narrow one at the top, the 3 lines at the top. So we're now going to score it on this long side at 2.5. So again, running my stylus down and letting it follow the channel. 5, to just keep checking my measurements, make sure I'm telling you right. 7.5 and 10. So you've got that little 1/2 inch bit at the end. We haven't quite finished with the scoreboard yet, because what we're going to do, you want to fold the card down at this second horizontal line. This is why it's important to have it the right way around to do these measurements, because we're going to fold the card down at that line, put it back up at the top, and we're just going to mark at 1.25 inches. So again, I'm going to use my stylus. 1.25 is here. And I'm just going to sort of press the stylus into the card, and that will leave a little mark. Or you could use a pencil mark if you prefer. So that would do the same thing. You could just use a pencil to show you. So I just run the pencil down, make a little mark there. So I use my pencil for the other one because I've just dropped my stylus. Okay, so the next mark you need is at 3 3/4 inches. So here. Then at 6 1/4 inches, which is this one here. And finally 8 3/4 inches, which is that there. So hopefully, actually marking it in pencil is better. Let me just grab this stylus. I managed to drop it back in my thing, so we've finished there now. So hopefully you can see those marks. So we've marked basically in the centre of each of these 4 panels. Now we're going to do some cutting, okay? So we're going to cut from each mark to, I'm going to turn it around because I can't cut upside down. So we're going to cut from each mark to the next score line along. So if I start at this end, we're going to cut from this mark. So it's a good idea to start at this end, then you know where you are. This is the little tab end. So from this mark here, and I'm cutting both layers at once, I'm going to cut to where the cross in the score lines is. Does that make sense? And then I'm just going to cut up that score line to cut that piece out. Doesn't want to come out, let me just, there we go. And then we do the same all the way along. So the next one, from this mark to this joint score line here. That's a little bit hard to hold because it's quite thick, especially if I'm trying to keep it in view. I'll probably do this more in front of me, given half a chance, but there we go. And then cut up here. So we cut that one out. Same with the next one. Cut that one out. And then the final one, obviously we haven't got a score line, we've just got the end. So we're going to where that score line meets the end of the card. So we're just going to cut across and cut that corner out. Okay, so get rid of those bits. When we open it up, it should look like that. And then I also want to take out this bit here. So I'm going to take out this panel here. If I draw it first and show you. Okay. I'm going to cut out this panel at the end of the, where it's pointed, where the triangles are pointing. We're going to cut out this little end panel here. And while I'm at it, I'm going to shape that little tab as well. Because these are going to be tabs we finish with, so I can cut all of those. And we'll cut this end one out. And then we cut this bit out. So be a little bit careful so you don't damage it as you take your scissors in. And just cut across that score line. There. Let's get rid of those bits. So when you've finished, it should look something like this, okay? Turn it back so you've got the triangles and you've got the gaps here. So that's the way it should look by the time you've finished. Okay, does that make some sense? Hopefully it does. Now we're going to stick the pieces of DSP on. So while it is this way round, stick on the small pieces. These are the 2 1/4 by 3/4 inch pieces, and we're just going to stick them on in the top. This is the top of the box here, and we're going to just stick them across the top of the box, one in each panel. So I'll quickly do that. The key is just be careful while you're doing this. You want to make sure that you're getting them just in the right place. So they sit in the middle of the panel like this. A little gap all the way around. And this is forming the edge at the top of the box. The bit that's folded over in the final box. This bit here. Ooh, just make sure that's straight. I'm in a bit of a tone on tone thing at the moment, so that's why I'm using tone on tone. If I'd used something a bit more obvious, it would have looked better, I suppose, because you'd have seen it better. But hey, never mind. I wanted to use up this paper. There we go. So I've stuck those on, and now the key thing is we're going to turn the whole thing over. So turn it over, and then we're going to stick these ones on the bottom half of this big panel here. So down towards the bottom, this is the bottom of the box. Stick them here, and I've just realised I've forgotten one set of cutting, but we'll finish that in just a minute. Just again, making sure that there's the same gap all the way around, because the lid will fit over this top bit. That's the reason we're not covering it. If we covered it with DSP, the lid would not fit snugly. So important to just put the DSP at the bottom of these panels. Just making sure I've got the same gap all the way around, and the final piece on here. A bit of cutting I've forgotten to do is for the bottom of the box. Can't make up the box without that being cut. So for this, the bottom of the box, we're simply going to cut up all three of these score lines. So just cut them all the way up. And I'm going to leave my one panel completely full. You could leave them like this. I found it did actually close. There's a little bit of overlap. I didn't quite get them straight there. So I'm going to try and do better on this one. So the next job is fold all of the score lines. So we'll fold all of these in. Fold the tab in. Fold the top down. So it's covering the top bit of that. And then fold all of the other creases here. I found just using my fingers is actually fine for this. It's this last one to do across. There we go. Right, so the next stage is we're going to put the box together and then put the decoration on at the end. For the top, for this decoration that I've put on the top, I tried to do it before I put it together, and I just could not work it out which one of the panels it needed to go on. So I recommend wait till you put the box together before you stick the top decoration on. So I need some tear and tape, which is under my scoreboard. There we go. And we're going to put tear and tape on the panel on the edge here. So just put a little bit across there. Tear it off. I'll put two bits on actually to try. I should have put that one nearer the. I'm going to put loads on. I'll trim this in a minute because I want it actually right up against here, because I want it to make sure it holds the box squarely. The first bit I put on was just stupid because I've not put it on where it needs to be. So I'm going to take all of this off. Oh. This is how to make a mess on a video, isn't it? I may well. That bit off, stick that bit back down. If there's enough sticky on here just to add a bit to the edge, then we will do it. Yeah, I think there is, so that's all right. Yeah. I've just got a little bit too much there, so I can just fold it in. So we want tape on there, and then I'm going to put a bit of tape on here as well, but I'm not going to take the tops off here just yet. So one bit on there and another bit at the top. Oh, made that a bit short, didn't I? Another bit on there. I'm really not very good at tearing tape, I've decided. I'm really not. Okay, so put the box together. The easy way to do it, keep this folded down. You won't be able to fold it down once the box is together. So keep that bit folded down and then very carefully make sure, I don't know what that bit is. Go away. Make sure that all your crease lines are lined up. So this line lines up here, this line lines up here. And then when you're folding this across, make sure that the same thing is the case. Because it is bulky at the top, it'll want to twist a little bit. So make sure when you're sticking it down, just line up these lines to make sure they're exactly parallel. And there we have the box. So now you can see why you had to have folded this down first, because once you've stuck it together, this bit will not work once you've stuck these together. So the next stage is we're going to stick the bottom together. So I'm just going to put glue on that panel there and fold that one over. And then I'm going to put glue on the, isn't sticking yet, I can push it down in a minute. So we'll put glue on that panel and then glue on the other panel. And I'm not squeezing it together yet because I want to try and make sure it's really square. This is my last one, so I want to make sure that the glue is right around the edge. So press that one down. And this is where you can just fiddle it a little bit. Put your hand in and squeeze to make sure that it's nice and square at the bottom here, okay? These line up. If you wanted to, you could trim the ends a bit, but I actually left them. I think it forms a good base to the box. Okay, and that is the box. Now you'll notice the lid looks a bit odd because the next stage is push the lid down. This is where the magic happens. Look at that, it shuts and fits. So you want to just do that a few times, get it going, get it used to what you want it to do. It just sort of, it'll ease off a little bit as you do it. So do it a couple of times and then we can take the tape off this tab that we carefully put the tape on before. And I did find it a lot easier. The first time I made the box, I didn't put the tape on until I'd made the box and it was a bit fiddly. So that's why I suggest you put the tape on before. And then we're simply going to tuck that tab under this side. So bring it round, just ease it down inside there and stick. And then make sure your box still opens and closes. Work it again another few times. Ooh, catching the top of that paper there, but yeah. And there we have it. There is the box. So important that when you're sticking any, like on this one, I've stuck my bow and my little tab on the side of the box, not on the lid, because either stick something separately to the lid or on the side, but make sure it's not getting in the way of this. So that's going to be my front. So I'm going to stick my For You on there. I'm going to stick it on with a dimensional because the more it stays out of the way of the lid of the box, the better. So we'll have For You on there. I could stick it on there actually. I could stick it on the lid. I might stick it on the lid. Then I've got my dimensional a bit too far down. Just see if I can move that dimensional up a bit. I can stick it on the lid there. So you want it either on the lid or on the base. You can't have it on both because it won't move. We'll stick it on the lid for now and see how that works, just to make a different one. And I've got some ribbon. It isn't, oh, it's a little bit thinner than I really want, but never mind. It's just some old ribbon I had. I can't even remember what this is from. It's obviously from a set because it hasn't got anything written on it, but it is an old retired ribbon. But any ribbon that matches the DSP that you're using will do. So do your bow, much better than I've done it, obviously, because that's a bit of a mess, isn't it? But there, that will do. And then get my ribbon scissors. I never use my paper scissors for ribbon because it just does not work. And then I can stick that on there with a glue dot. So she having lost the glue dots. Okay. I'm going to use one from an old kit. I always keep the ones from the kits. They're brilliant. So we'll use those. So I'm going to stick one that side of the hole and this one this side. And then I can stick my bow on. Then we've just finally got the lid to finish. So take that off and stick my little bow on. There we go. And these bits, that one's a little bit long, isn't it? Let's trim that one down a bit there. These bits are just that little bit, they're not going to catch on the bottom, especially if you stick it to the lid. It's probably a better option actually than sticking it to the side. I don't know if that ribbon's too thick, but it's the only copper clay ribbon I had. Right, so that's decorated the box. You can obviously decorate it however which way you want. But the final bit to finish it off is to use, need my trim it in again, this square of DSP, which is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8 in inches, about 5.3 centimetres, something like that. And we're just going to cut it diagonally. So I'm going to cut it first across here, down in this, let me just move that so there's more light. Make sure my points are in the channel, making sure that my cutting blade is above the centre. You don't want to come in from the end because you'll damage those points. Then I can drop my cutting, my piece down, I don't know what that bit is, my cutting bit anyway, and cut through, and that gives me nice clean triangles. So I'm going to turn it round and I'm actually going to keep these bits together. You could, if you want, put some low tack tape or something on to hold them. It's a lot easier than trying to measure and cut from halfway along the base. I found this easier. So again, making sure your cutting blade is in the middle of them, cut up and down, and that gives you your 4 triangles that we're going to stick on the top of the box. So this is the final thing, just to finish the box here. Don't throw it around. Make sure that's stuck down. Yes, it is. So, as I said, I tried to work out where on the template sort of piece, as it's sort of sitting there, where I had to stick them. Could not do it at all. I probably need to dismantle a box to work that one out. But it's a lot easier just to stick them on once your box is complete. So that's what I recommend. So just finishing this way, one on that panel. Again, making sure we just left the same gap all the way round. Come this way, that's it. And the final 2. Really should use my tweezers to hold these little tiny bits rather than trying to do it with my fingers, but it seems to work just about all right. The final one here. I didn't say actually, but while I was sticking on that bit, make sure it's the sort of front of your box. That's your back corner, and this bit is just slightly ugly where it goes in, because actually mine is not quite sticking properly. There we go. That's better. That's better. So you can see how you put it together. This is one of my back corners. Doesn't matter which back corner. Make that or that the front. I do it with the final flap I closed. I make sure that that's the front. And then that is our box, our impossible box, our magic opening box, our all-in-one box, whatever you want to call it. But there's room in there for plenty of gifts. And then it has its own lid, so you can never lose the lid of this box. I hope you like them. There's the 2 I've made so far. I think I'm going to be making a few more for presents this year because they're such fun. So thank you for joining me today. Please do sign up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you want all of the measurements and some more detailed instructions, please go to my blog at craftycarolscards.co.uk. And it just remains for me to say thank you for joining me today, and bye for now.